Hello everyone, my name is Dallas May. It is 9 o'clock, the camera is charged. I don't know who'll be watching us at night, but I'm tired, drowsy, sleepy. We're here on my nice little cot. I am tired and bored, so we're gonna watch some YouTube, I guess.
Go. Do you know? Well, you've got slight imperfections in your hand like that, and I know this might be going over your head like this, but can you feel? And boy, your skin is so soft, and his hair is so, I wouldn't say imperfect. I don't know if I'm scared or excited. I think maybe a little of both. That's the perfect combination. So can you feel that? And you see the way it's dropped? And were you surprised by the way it dropped? I've seen this before. I've seen this. Where have you seen this? Don't you recognize any of what I'm doing? This never happened to me before. I promise you, this is brand new experience. It happened to me. Watch him. Yeah. Watch him back. Okay, there we go.
Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Now for today's video, I wanted to talk about Jurassic World Dominion and why I think it's so important to the Jurassic Park franchise overall, specifically to the first film's setup of story, characters, and theme. Now, I'm sure you've probably heard this before, but on its own, Jurassic Park as a movie didn't necessarily need or even require a sequel to further explore anything that had been shown to us in the original film. A few characters learned their lessons, the dinosaurs were all doomed to die, and the message was properly delivered in a pretty straightforward way that was easy for the audience to understand. However, even back at the time when Jurassic Park was being filmed by Steven Spielberg, he insisted on setting up a sequel anyway, leaving Dennis Nedry's Lost Barbasol can as a pivotal plot point that could be returned to in further entries. Basically, this was Jurassic Park's version of Darth Vader floating away from the Death Star unscathed. However, as fate would have it, the Lost World would toss all of that setup out in favor of a new story that didn't really follow up on what was previously established in the first film at all. Instead, what we got was a brand new island, a brand new set of enemies that we hadn't seen before, sorry Dodson, and a brand new lead once Alan Grant was dropped from the story and Ian Malcolm was given top billing to take his place.
Oh, but I heard some ringing.
Now, yes, some of these ideas do come directly from Michael Crichton's Lost World sequel book, and that's definitely why you see them in the second Jurassic movie, but really...
Okay, no offense, Michael Crichton, but the Lost World Jurassic Park sucked. It blowed. The first one was great. The second one was trash. I'd consider pissing on it. The third one was, I'll give it an okay. I mean, there were things in the movie that could have changed up to where it probably would have made a more badass story, but they messed up in that script some, I believe. But the second one, you can piss and shit on that one. That one was horrible. And if you love Lost World Jurassic Park, I feel sorry for you. But the first one was a masterpiece. The third one was okay-ish to me. The second one, you can shit on that. Jurassic World, however, now that was okay. I like that one. The Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the story didn't make sense at all. Why go through all that trouble to save those dinosaurs when you could just grow more of them in a lab? I mean, seriously. The Fallen Kingdom story was completely worthless. And I mean that out of every bit of sense. Sure, the volcano is gonna wipe out the dinosaurs. Boo-hoo, sad story. They could grow more dinosaurs in a lab like they have before. Did they seriously forget how to do that? I mean, that's what they did in the first one and the second one. I mean, how else did they get the dinosaurs on that second island? They had to move all the cloning equipment and shit over there so they can grow more. That's how there were 2 islands with dinosaurs on them, obviously. So unless they're all forgotten how to grow more dinosaurs in a lab, the story didn't make much sense. Literally. I mean, if you watch the first one, then you obviously know that they know how to grow more dinosaurs in a lab, correct? Why not do that in Jurassic World: The Fallen Kingdom? Just let the volcano wipe them out, find a new sanctuary for them, move all the cloning equipment and such onto that island, and just grow more dinosaurs there. And then once you got a sustainable habitat for the dinosaurs, move all the scientists and cloning equipment out of there, and then just let it be a normal habitat for dinosaurs. That's basically how the story should have went. But no, they had to bring the dinosaurs to the Lockwood residence where a little girl could release them on the world. Basically, that little girl, Maisie, Daisy, whatever the frick her name was, basically doomed society by releasing those dinosaurs. Just let them get wiped off the face of the earth. You can grow more. I mean, that's what they did to begin with. So in other words, this little girl can doom society just because they're clone dinosaurs, because she's a clone. So what if she's a clone and the dinosaurs are clone? That doesn't give her the fucking right to doom society by freaking releasing carnivorous dinosaurs on people. Did she really forget that there was a T-Rex, a Carnosaur, Velociraptor, other fucking dinosaurs that could eat people, including the fucking Mosasaur? I mean, literally. That story ended on a basically doomed society. I would not have been happy. And now they got a new Jurassic World Dominion coming out, or why it's important to Jurassic Park. I, for one, would not have been happy.
Hey guys, it's General Heat here. How's everyone doing today? So, for today's video, we are going to be going back to Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare again and tackling the question of what happens if you survive the nuke. And by nuke, I mean the one at the end of the mission, Shock and Awe, where after you rescue that downed pilot, you're trying to escape the city, and then all of a sudden the nuke gets set off and your helicopter goes down. It was a very shocking mission, actually, at the time when I played it. Hence the name Shock and Awe, I guess. But yeah, it's unfortunately after you crash, there's another mission afterwards called Aftermath, where you walk around for a little bit, you see like all the destruction and everything, and then shortly after you drop dead, and that's it for Private Jackson, who you're playing as on this mission. So what happens if we modded it so that you survive the nuke, and instead of dropping dead, you just don't die? What would happen afterwards?
Well,
Well,
he
let's take a look.
definitely
See what
have
happens.
some serious issues going on for him.
So the reason why you die on this mission actually has nothing to do with like being injured or anything, or like the radiation or stuff. I mean, like technically lore wise, yeah, that's why you die, but physically speaking, or technically speaking, the reason why you die is once the mission starts and you can start walking, the mission is actually on a timer, and once the timer runs out, the game automatically forces you to drop to the ground and then quote unquote die. But you don't actually die like physically as far as like the game is concerned. It's just kind of like an effect that makes your screen kind of fade away and then ends the mission. But we all I did was just turn off the timer, and now we can see what happens if we survive past what the timer would have ended at. So the first thing I just want to mention, I've actually never noticed, like earlier there when a building collapsed and got blown away. I actually never noticed that before, because every time I played this mission, as soon as I get out of the helicopter, I always turn around and go this way towards the mushroom cloud in the distance. I've actually never walked in that other direction and saw that building collapse. It has nothing to do with like surviving the timer, but I just wanted to point out that it's like I've actually never noticed that before. It's like I said, I just always go the other direction.
Well, why go towards the giant mushroom cloud in a nuke, you fool? Don't you know that means the really bad area? Radiation poisoning, fallout, all that shit? Go the other fucking direction instead of running towards it.
So never once since COD 4 came out have I ever noticed that. But anyways, as you can see, surviving the nuke really actually doesn't do anything. The game does not have any other thing to handle like you surviving the nuke. It doesn't have like a secondary way to kill you or anything. So really, you just end up limping around the whole game, and you can really explore around. Actually, there's actually quite a lot of places that you can reach by walking, and that you normally could not reach in the regular mission because the timer will always kill you before you can reach the spots. So it's actually a few interesting things to see. And if we switch to No Club and just fly around, we can see a few more interesting things outside the map as well, such as those bricks over there that were floating. I'm not sure why there's a few floating bricks just right on the edge of the map there, but it's one of the field trips. So it's that's also not surprising because you were never really. But it's ironic because this game is like it's a scripted quote unquote death. So if you checkpoint until you like follow its scripting and just die when your script is actually dying. You're just like you're pretty much nothing. But
if I was in Corporal Jackson's little situation, I would have been going the complete different other direction. I wouldn't have been going towards that nuke. I would have been long gone.
The future waits for no one, so we refuse to wait for it. Today, battles are waged in nanoseconds, and planes are piloted from the other side of the world. The future's not coming, it's already here. Join us and be the future.
For the past couple of weeks, we have dabbled into the story of modern warfare, looking at some of the most iconic characters like Captain Price, And also looking at the other side of the card as well, the evil characters, the cynical Makarov. However, before that, we were actually looking at the Black Ops universe. We've gone through all of these specialist characters in Black Ops 4, and on top of that, some of the most iconic characters of all time, like Frank Woods. However, today we are once again going back to the very beginning, Black Ops 1. Today we are going to be covering the main protagonist of that game, a character that we have all come to know and love for not just his story, but also the numbers. Today I present to you World at War. At the age of 20, Alex Mason became the youngest 1933. Alex Mason's story begins on June 3rd, 1933, as he was born in Fairbanks, Alaska. He grew up alongside his father, who was a World War II veteran who got a Purple Heart during the Battle of Macon. This was actually a battle that was shown as the first mission during Call of Duty World at War. At the age of 20, Alex Mason became the youngest ever winner of the Wimbledon Cup, essentially a shooting competition, and around that time joined the U.S. Marine Corps. And from here we dive into the beginning of Black Ops 1.
Wake up. Wake up.
Where am I? Where's Reznov?
You will answer our questions. Do you understand?
Black Ops 1 begins with you in a chair as Alex Mason being tortured. You don't know why, you don't know who the mysterious figure behind the glass is, but what you do know is
No. Mason! You bastard! Menendez!
the whole thing was a trap by Raul Menendez. Frank Woods ends up shooting his own best friend and killing him. But not only did Menendez kidnap Alex Mason, there was also a lot more to this story as well. He also kidnapped his son, David Mason. And here's what happened with that.
Your life will be consumed by absolute loss. Then and only then will you understand what you have done to me. I will not kill you, boy. Not like Woods. You will suffer with me. And then one day, you will see this pendant again. And you will remember everything you saw and felt tonight. You will remember all the years of anger and the pain. And when you do, David, please come to me.
Dad! No! Dad!
And that is the very sad ending to Alex Mason's story. In one of the endings, you can see David Mason and Frank Woods go to Alex Mason's grave and mourn him. However, as you may or may not know, this ending is not the canon ending. This is what happens in the canon ending.
Do not enter. I swear to God, I will shove this wheelchair right up your ass. Hey, Woods, you look like hammered shit. Stay right there. Mason, I shot you. Turns out you're a lousy shot. My ass. Where the fuck you been for 30 years?
David Mason for Sergeant Woods. Another Mason?
Fuck. Hey, kid. Come on. Introduce you to somebody. Hey, this is Dave. Dave.
How you doing?
This is your dad.
Dad.
What the fuck? I am couple of fucking broads. Work this shit on your own. Some smokes on that score. You made me proud that day. I fell. Yeah. But you got back up.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is the full story of Alex Mason. Now, the weird part about this is it never explains where Alex Mason went for 30 years, why he didn't come back to see his son, why he disappeared off the face of the earth. It is assumed that he did so to keep his son safe from Raul Menendez. And then once Raul Menendez was locked up, he then felt safe coming forward so that his family wouldn't once again get attacked. However, we don't know that. They never said that in the story. All we know is that he reappeared after the capture of Raul Menendez. Now, Alex Mason does return once again in Black Ops 4 as an archetype character brought to life by his granddaughter, Savannah Mason Meyer. He also has another granddaughter fighting against the archetypes, Jessica Mason Green, which some people recognize as Spectre. So that is the full story of Alex Mason. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button. These videos take a ton of time and effort to edit, put together, piece together the whole story. So if you did enjoy it, I would really appreciate it if you hit that like button. Also, let me know down in the comments which characters you'd like me to cover next in this series. And as always, if you like what you see here and want to stay up to date on all my content, make sure you hit that subscribe.
My question is, in Alex Mason's story in Black Ops 2, where the fuck was he hiding all the time? I mean, surely to God, it should have given us like a clip or something where he's been hiding all these years. A bunker, maybe? Safe house? Some form of place to hide? And I want to see what Alex Mason's granddaughter looks like.
Whether you're looking to connect with customers, find new ones,
I'm curious to know.
or sell more of your awesome stuff, Constant Contact has powerful email marketing tools and more to help you do more business online. Power on with Constant Contact. Try it free today.
As we know, ever since Black Ops 3, the specialist characters have been becoming more and more of a storyline, and come Black Ops 4, they've now introduced specialist stories and an overarching story to explain how the specialists came to be. And one of the most mysterious specialists out of all of them is Spectre from Call of Duty Black Ops 3, who is oddly not returned in Black Ops 4. What if I told you that within the story of Black Ops 4, it actually reveals the true identity of Spectre? That is what we're going to be exploring today. In yesterday's video, I talked about 3 new specialists possibly coming to Call of Duty Black Ops 4 and asked you guys if you wanted me to explore Spectre's true identity and make more videos revolving around the overarching story of the specialist characters, and the overwhelming response was yes. So if you would like to see me continue this series, talk about the story even more, dig even deeper, all you have to do to show me is simply hit that like button and let of Spectre. Now, to fully understand this, we first have to explore who the characters are within the Black Ops 4 Specialist campaign, if you want to call it that. So, as we start off here, we are at a cemetery at gravesite, and we are introduced to 3 big characters. The first of which is who the grave actually belongs to, which is Jessica Mason Green. The second 2 characters, the taller blonde lady is Savannah Mason, who is Jessica Mason Green's sister, and the smaller blonde girl is her daughter, Lucy Mason Green. Now the story then goes on to show a mission that Ruin Battery and Jessica Mason Green go on, where things don't turn out quite so well for Jessica.
The bleeding itch. It's waiting for someone to pick them off. Abort mission. Baker, abort police.
And just like that, Jessica is shot in the face. And at the end of this kind of mission, it is showing that Jessica is laying there dying with kind of half of her jaw hanging off of her face. Cut back to the cemetery, and then this is when Savannah Mason says this.
Still a moment. She was very brave, just like her.
Her grandpa, who is that? Obviously, it is Alex Mason, one of the main characters in both the Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 campaigns, and actually a character we get to see later on in the story. Now, in the next scene, we see Ruin and Battery waiting for some more specialist characters to land at this mansion. As we find out, this is Savannah Mason's mansion, and this is actually the first time we get to see all of the specialist characters together.
What are we getting into here? What she's paying. Anything she asks for, mate. This kind of shit doesn't exist. It's banned in some battle. More like a war. Vision pulse. And portable. Fuck.
I'm thinking bigger than battles and wars. I brought you here to change the world.
What do you have in mind?
So Savannah Mason, as it turns out, looks to be the spy for Black Ops 3, the character that brought all of these specialist characters together to train to become super soldiers. How do we know this? In the next scene, it is stated that all of the characters are now in the simulation and are actually talking to Frank Woods, a character we of course know to be dead, but we can see him here within this simulation.
Welcome to the immersion. Your instructor has been activated. His methods are unconventional and often nuanced. But if you want to fight
Mason. Better be goddamn good. Won't be up.
Sergeant Frank Woods.
So how does this all tie into Spectre? Well, as far as the rest of the story goes, Savannah throughout the story slowly becomes more and more evil, and the reasoning isn't very clear. It's something I can cover in a future video, but the overarching thing that Savannah is working on throughout this kind of campaign is something called Project Blackout, which you may recognize the name to. Once again, this is something I'll have to cover in a future video. One, it's really confusing, and two, it would make for a very, very long video. So as Savannah becomes more and more evil throughout this campaign, we find out that her sister, Jessica Mason Green, was actually trying to fight against her before she actually got shot in the face and apparently killed. Next, we are introduced to this mysterious hooded figure. And then at the very end, there is a cutscene that sums everything up, and I'm just going to play it for you and then explain it. Afterwards.
No one gives a fuck about you. You're a number. An asset. A pawn in someone else's game. The fuck? How would you? There's no time for this.
Your exits are compromised. Find another way out.
What is going on?
I'm sending you a safe house address. Make sure you aren't followed.
Specialist dog. Are we still alive? Wants us dead. They've been manipulating you, watching you, exploiting you. And when they get what they want, they'll leave you for dead.
Lucy, this is Tony.
Jessica, you... How? Alone, you can put up a fight. Together, you can start a war.
So there's a lot to take away there. First of all, Jessica Mason Green is alive and well. As you can see, she kind of has this metal bottom jaw with a voice changer, which don't worry, we'll get to in a minute. Also, Lucy, her daughter, is there with her, which means that Jessica Mason Green actually kidnapped Lucy away from her sister Savannah, and now they're one big happy family and back together. Now, obviously, as you can tell by the title of this video and the theories that I'm sure you've heard around the community, the idea is that Jessica Mason Green, aka Alex Mason's granddaughter, is Spectre. So the question is, what is the supporting evidence for this? Now, the first thing, the most obvious thing, is the voice changer. As we know, in Black Ops 3, Spectre has a voice changer because, well, it's pretty obvious. Just listen to the voice. Things are very rarely entirely as they seem. Try to grasp the bigger picture. And then whenever we hear Jessica talk with her voice changer, it sounds similar, maybe not quite as manly, but definitely a voice changer is in place at that point. Listen to me very carefully. Watch your back. Everything you know is wrong. The second piece of evidence is the fact that Spectre actually has a little bit of a crush on Ruin, aka Donnie Walsh. How do we know this? Well, in Black Ops 3, in Ruin's transmissions, it says this. Kissing our internal organs goodbye. Yeah, exact turn of phrase.
You got called sugar at one point.
Yeah. And this would allude to Spectre being a female or a gay guy, one of the two. But all in all, I don't think that piece of evidence is that incriminating. I think the biggest thing of all is the fact that one, Jessica Mason Green already has an implanted voice changer, and a reason as to why she would want to hide her face, hence why you never see Spectre without some sort of face mask on. Now, as far as the big piece of evidence that everyone is using to disprove this theory is the fact that Spectre has a lack of boobs. No, I am not kidding. There could be a lot of reasons for this. Number one, as you can see, it doesn't appear that Jessica Mason Green is a very busty lady. On top of that, there are things like sports bras that compress them titties. And on top of that, Spectre is wearing armor, another thing that can compress the breasts even more. So I don't think that's necessarily a piece of evidence you can use to disprove this theory. However, there is one big piece of evidence that simply doesn't line up, and that is the timeline. Now, once again, going back to where we were first introduced to Jessica is the gravestone. So, as we can see, her birth date is July 2nd, 2013, and she died, apparently, on September 5th, 2043. Now, the one thing we do know about Black Ops 3 is that it takes place in the year 2065, which would make Jessica Mason Green at the time of those events 52. And don't get me wrong, a 52-year-old can be jacked, a 52-year-old can do some crazy stuff, but it makes it a little less believable that Spectre is a 52-year-old at the time of the events of Black Ops 3, simply because Spectre is supposed to be the stealthy, sneaky, agile assassin.
Alright, I can go with that.
A family vacation in a Verbo means leaving all the craziness behind. Well, maybe not all of it. Crazy feels good.
One of the classic movies, Shrek. I like the Bad Reputation Duloc fight scene. It's classic.
To go forth and rescue the lovely Princess Fiona from the fiery teeth of the dragon. If, for any reason, the winner is unsuccessful, the first runner-up will take his place, and so on and so forth. Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make. Let the tournament begin! What is that? Ugh, it's hideous!
Oh, that's not very nice. It's just a donkey.
Nice! New plan! The one who kills the ogre.
Well, now that's not very nice. It's just a donkey. Donkey looking at him like, what the fuck, man?
Will be named champion. How about him?
Oh, hey, now come on. Hang on now. Can't we just settle this over a pint?
I agree, Shrek.
All right.
And to tell you the truth, my comment in this video was, can't we just settle everyone's problems with a pint? And to tell you another truth, this song, Bad Reputation, plays well with any Call of Duty multiplayer. If you go into any Call of Duty multiplayer just about, and you play this song like Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, whatever kind of Call of Duty multiplayer you're doing, this song, Bad Reputation, will probably play well with it.
Hey, then. Come on!
Farquaad's face. Yeah, I was playing the song when I was playing World War II, and I realized how well it freaking fit. Give him the chair. Shrek was a good movie.
Thank you very much. I'm here till Thursday. Sign the deal. Shall I give the order, sir? No. I have a better idea. People of Duloc, I give you our champion! What? Congratulations, Ogre. You've won the honor of embarking on a great and noble quest.
As a kid, I always dreamed of being a Division I athlete. GCU supported that dream, and they also allowed me to get an education.
Yeah, that was pretty funny, scene in Shrek. Quest? I'm already on a quest. A quest to get my swamp back. Your swamp? Yeah, my swamp. Where you dumped those fairy tale creatures. Indeed. Shrek was a very good movie. I watched it recently with my mom because, well, she sort of forced me to watch it with her. She wanted to watch a movie with me, and she chose that movie. Because we used to watch it a lot when I was a kid. So, we watched it.
That was quite nice. I quite enjoyed that.
I hate middle school girls that when I go like this, they'll be like,
Stop! You're triggering my OCD. Like, shut up. My name is Stefan, and I like soap. I like to eat pencil.
Dude, I used to shoot pencils in school.
You should ask. Wanna see me stay bridge? Stupid bitch. No, you try it. He's never gonna do it. Bad. You're bad.
Welcome to the cum zone. Only cum inside anime girls. Quivering clit, double jointed pussy. Fresh.
I'm watching some guy's live stream right now. So don't think I'm watching something inappropriate, because I'm not. I'm watching someone's live stream. I don't know the name of this guy, but Tio Mad 360.
Hey, shut the fuck up, nigga. Shut your bitch ass up before I smack you, nigga. It's early.
Yeah, that woman muscular. Oh, I got a funny joke.
Un día normal, yo estaba caminando por la calle y me encontré con CD de Michael Jackson. Lo vi, me fui a mi casa, lo puse en mi PlayStation 4 y apareció un chico y empezó a bailar bien chingón. Yo competí con el perro perdí cuando mis jefes llegaron. Yo estaba violando a mi perro. Ahora estoy en un manicomio escribiendo esta carta con mi propia caca. Dice en esta estancia.
I'm British. That's just stupid Americans.
You're driving. Okay, so like you don't even have to.
Y'all seen that one white?
Hey, cuz.
What's up?
You know what's one that smells like red paint? Blue paint, motherfucker.
I gotta take care of something. Alright, I'm back.
How's Black luck? And I'd stay away. I figured that you and I'm gonna slice you up. I'm half dead and you still can't kill me. You betrayed us. Spineless bastard. You failed. Dirty rat. I'm gonna take every cent of that money. Kill me there. Come on. You dirty little thief. You son of a bitch.
So wait, you can actually kill like in Red Dead 2?
This season, you finally get to slide into the basin's big milestone. Kid and I went to the backyard to practice. He's getting the hang of it.
Guys, what the fuck is this? I forgot this movie existed until someone recommended it to me.
and now my life is ruined. Son of the Mask is a huge bruh moment in the history of film. I put a poll on Twitter asking what movie I should cover, and you guys chose this. Massive failure. It had a budget of $84 million and made less than $60 million worldwide, and only $17 million in the States, which is a huge surprise coming from the highly acclaimed director, Lawrence Guterman, the same guy that brought us Cats and Dogs. Remember them? I'm 100% confident that without Jim Carrey, The Mask would have been a massive flop. And I'm confident in saying this because in the movie The Son of the Mask, an actor named Jamie Kennedy tried his hand at Jim Carrey's role, and dear God, get ready to overdose on cringe. Son of the Mask starts with the Bueller guy teaching people about Norse mythology. You know the guy in Ferris Bueller, the teacher who's like, Bueller? Yeah, well, he's in this movie, and he basically plays the same character. This guy was in the first movie. He was the author of this random mask book. Remember the scene where Stanley is talking to him in his office, and he says something like, oh yeah, this looks to be a Scandinavian mask made by the Norse gods. But they present that information in the mask as a theory. You never really know where the mask came from. And I like that. It gives the mask some intrigue. They don't do that in this movie.
Have you found your mask?
Lawrence Guterman decided to take this one scene from The Mask and expand upon it in the absolute worst way by introducing these gods as characters in the movie. Oh my God. It takes something that's already kind of silly and dumb and amplifies the silliness and stupidity by 1,000,000%. In the original comics, the mask was created by an unknown tribe that originated in Africa. I like that origin story a lot more, but whatever, fine. Norse gods it is, I guess. The Son of the Mask's first scene introduces Loki, and he transforms into a green-skinned version of Darth Maul, and it overloads the viewer with cringe in like the first 5 minutes of the movie. Maybe this was the director's way of preparing the viewer for the shit show that's to follow. What the fuck? Is that supposed to be Loki? What the fuck? I'm so confused. Loki's hair looks like it was inspired by Miley Cyrus or Mark McGrath.
What's that sugar dad? You fucking ass.
So Loki uses his magic to remove the Bueller guy's face. Like he takes the guy's face off and it's just floating in the air. I don't know. And then he uses 2 huge finger guns, like comically huge, cartoony finger guns, to shoot a hole under a bunch of security guards so they fall into a cartoon pit. What? It's so stupid. And while the first movie was also silly and stupid, at least it had an underlying tone of seriousness. Son of the Mask just goes full-on batshit insane. It's like an 8-year-old snorted coke and then wrote the scenes to this movie. I swear to God. So the family's dog finds the mask in a creek and brings it back to the family. In the next scene, we meet the protagonist, Tim. He gets headbutted in the balls by a random kid, which is clearly foreshadowing this movie getting headbutted in the balls by terrible baby CGI. On their drive home, Tim is playing a Game Boy in a way that nobody would ever play it. I don't know. It's probably meant to be quirky and funny, but just comes across weird. And he's playing Mario Kart Super Circuit, but the sound effects are from a different game.
Honey, just think. If you have a baby, you'll have someone you can play video games with.
Like, why didn't they just record the game audio? Obviously, they have the game. Throughout the movie, Tim acts like a 6-year-old, and it's not funny at all. It's just really, really obnoxious. Like everything, his tone of voice, his facial expressions, it's all so infantile. And it honestly makes the movie really hard to watch.
He was bouncing, and he did the Woody laugh, you know.
This movie does have one redeeming quality, and that's the dog Otis. At least in this one scene. He does some pretty fancy tricks, like he balances on a ball, and then he guards a hockey net.
He shoots!
So that was pretty cool, but that's pretty much all the praise I have for this movie, so that's kind of sad. The editing in this movie is kind of similar to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but that movie came out in 1988, and this movie came out in 2005. So the weird editing style is kind of dated. They do these really cheesy cross-zoom transitions, like it'll zoom into an eye, and then zoom out really quick. It gives it this awkward cartoony feel. And it's not like a one-time thing. I don't know. Maybe some people like this stuff, but it's just not for me. Oh, and Kumar from Harold and Kumar is in this movie. He's Tim's work friend, so that's kind of random. Tim works at an animation studio as a tortoise to entertain kids, and he has a dream to make a cartoon. And I bet you can guess what happens at the end of the movie. Yep, he makes his own cartoon. Very riveting, I know. Obviously, the script for this movie was going to be terrible, but I didn't know it was going to be this bad.
It's the crappiest piece of crap in Crap Town.
Was this really how people spoke back then, or is this just really cheesy writing? I'm not sure. I hope it's the latter. And I know this movie was made primarily for kids, but that doesn't mean they need to dumb it down so much. The original Mask movie is fine for kids, but it's still a legitimately entertaining movie for adults. I don't think when people say it's made for kids needs to also mean it has to be a bad movie. There are plenty of movies made for kids that adults can enjoy just as much. So I hate when people use that argument to justify a bad movie. So Tim goes to this work party, but he doesn't have a costume, so he brings the mask instead. And this is the first time he puts it on. Prepare yourselves, guys. This is bad. Like, really bad. So he puts it on in the car. The CGI is terrible, but it's not a huge deal because at the time, CGI wasn't the greatest anyway. But yeah, it's not great. And how did nobody see what was happening in the car? There's people around. Also, how is the car driving itself? What? So Tim exits the car in a very cartoony fashion. And oh God, why did they give him hair? And not just hair, like a plastic red wig. It looks so bad, like a dollar store mold. It looks more like a helmet than hair. Jim Carrey had hair in the original movie, but the mask made him bald. Shouldn't it work the same way here? Whatever. The way Tim talks when he has the mask on is so disturbing. His mouth hardly moves.
You better cover up, young lady. You might get just cold.
And you can tell he's trying to be charismatic, but he just looks super uncomfortable. So the bouncer at the party asks him for his ID. So he very comically pulls an IV out of his pants. Kill me.
Maybe I'll look in my other pants.
Never mind, this movie's slowly killing me already. So remember when Jim Carrey put the mask on in the original movie, and it gave him the confidence to approach the beautiful girl that had the spotlight, and that helped propel the plot forward? Well, the same thing happens in this movie, except the girl that he approaches is just some random woman with zero significance to the plot. They did it in the original, so it must happen here too, I guess. So the musical number starts, and it's an ear-grating hip-hop song. This is the part where you boogie. This is the part where you dance. Tim's wearing a suit that's too big for him. It looks awful. It's really hard to convince yourself that everybody in the room likes this guy who looks like a complete moron. I guess that's the mask's magic doing its work. So he magically strips a bunch of women. The mask makes people really horny. That's all that matters. He then randomly transforms into Elvis. Yes, thanks, movie. I didn't already want to die, but now I'm going to make sure of it. Then like a second later, he turns into a country singer, and then back to a hip-hop guy. It's all over the place, and the scene goes on for way too long. And it doesn't help that Tim looks so fucking weird.
I hate this so much.
I know. It's so painful. And he's not singing convincingly at all. His mouth can hardly move. This is the part where you forget. This is the part where you Tim's boss was at the party, and he was so impressed that he invites Tim to his office the next day. And he's like, yo, all that weird shit you were doing last night? Yeah, let's make it into a cartoon. I have no idea how you did it. You must be some sort of wizard. I don't care if you betrayed every single law of physics. All I care about is making a cartoon. So let's do it, baby. And Tim's like, hell yeah. To be fair, the original movie had the same issue. The people who saw Jim Carrey do insane shit with the mask on, it didn't really faze them. They were like, oh, okay, well, that's normal. Like the lady who's shooting at him with the shotgun in the hallway, and he's bouncing up and down like a spring, but she's just like, oh, wow, that's annoying. I can't hit him. He's too fast. Whatever.
Honey,
So Tim goes home after the party and impregnates his wife while he's wearing the mask. So I guess he shot green magical jizz into her. So there's this scene that was cut from the American release. Here it is. So, I guess I was kind of right then. They go to the hospital and his wife pukes bubbles because she's pregnant, and the doctor's like, oh, insurance doesn't cover that. The doctor just decides to ignore this bizarre event. Not to mention the wife just kind of like goes on with her life. She's like, oh, I just puked bubbles. Whatever. Throughout this movie, she just completely ignores all this bizarre shit that happens around her. It's very weird. There's a scene where she eats a cracker with silly string on it. Is that what the mask jizz does? So the weird masked baby is born, and the dog has the mask in its doghouse. The mom blows a balloon for the baby, so the baby turns his head into a balloon. And okay then. What? The baby is named Alvy Avery. So Tim calls him Double A, you know, like the battery. Thanks. I hate it. In the next scene, Loki is flying around the hospital as a green hornet with huge teeth.
I want you to be more like Thor. Oh, what a jerk.
Yeah, it's terrible. He stings the receptionist, so she walks away and he replaces her. He looks through the computer there to find all the babies that were recently born because Odin told him that there was a baby born of the mask. And yeah, I don't know. Odin tells Loki this so he can find the baby. When Odin has the ability to just like locate anybody immediately, like he could just find the baby and the mask like in a split second. But his excuse for not doing this is, Loki, this is your mess. You're going to clean it up when it's going to take 1,000,000 times longer. And I could save us all the trouble. But I'm your dad and I'm a douche. Tim is woken up by the babies crying early in the morning. So he mistakes a lamp for the baby bottle. He breaks the bulb and he's about to like feed the baby with the sharp glass, you know? And for whatever reason, the light bulb remains on even though he broke the bulb. I guess the people who made this movie don't know how light bulbs work. And how the hell would he break the lamp and still think it's a baby bottle? I don't care how tired you are. Whatever, guys. I'm so done. Tim's wife has to leave for like a work trip for a week, even though she just gave birth to a baby. This is the movie's way of getting Tim alone with the baby and the dog. Tim tells his boss that he can still do the work at home. So he ignores the baby and puts the baby in front of a TV so it absorbs the TV and, you know, reenacts the shit on the TV in front of Tim later on. So Loki has this big list of all these babies that were born recently, and he goes house to house trying to find this random baby. He visits one of the houses as a vacuum salesman, and he literally sucks the lady up into the vacuum. And then he bullies the baby. He like calls...
Loki reminds me, in the movie Son of the Mask, Loki reminds me of Pee Wee Herman for some reason.
Is it ugly?
Hello, you little ugly thing.
So just like in the first movie, the dog in this one puts the mask on, but the dog has a lot more to do in this movie than in the original. In fact, it becomes one of the main characters. A lot of this movie revolves around a fight between the dog and the kid, because the dog wants the parents' attention and it's jealous of the baby. And then the kid and the dog have these weird cartoon thoughts. The kid dislikes the dad for ignoring him so much, so he wants him locked up in like a psych ward or something. And the dog wants to kill the kid, so the parents will show him more attention. The next day, in an attempt to get Tim's attention, the kid starts reenacting the cartoons he saw the night before. Like he plays the exact song from the cartoon with his mouth, like his mouth turns into a speaker. This scene is so ridiculous. What the fuck, dude? So remember that scene in the Avengers when the Hulk obliterates Loki? Yeah, well, now I know where they got that idea from. Out of all the movies out there, it came from this one. Imagine getting your ass kicked by your own infant. This next scene, dude, oh my god. So the dog entices the baby with a bomb that's disguised as a toy. The baby puts out the fuse, then makes a bomb noise with its mouth and burns its own clothes off somehow, fooling the dog, you know, so the dog thinks that the baby was blown up. Then the baby does the same thing to the dog, but with a bone bomb instead. So then the dog starts creating a blueprint to murder the baby. I never thought that would be a sentence I would say. Loki continues looking for the baby by going to a bunch of different homes. He goes to one home as a plumber with his ass showing, and another as a Girl Scout. What? I hope they paid the makeup and costume people a shit ton of money for this movie. Because frankly, they're the only ones that deserved it. Tim tries to get the baby to say dad multiple times, but each time it just says mother and madre in like an old man's voice. Dada. Mother. What? Wow, humor changed a lot since then, huh? Madre. Jamie Kennedy's acting in this movie is atrocious. There's a scene when he finally sees the dog wearing the mask, and Jesus Christ, just watch this. It's so bad. Yeah. I hate movies like this when the actors are encouraged to behave as dumb and outrageously animated as possible in order to make kids between the ages of 5 and 10 laugh. Lawrence Guterman really was convinced that only children.
To be honest, if I seen my dog or if I had a baby that was acting like the son in the Mask movie, I would be very, very, very concerned, and I would be freaking out, and I would probably be checking myself into a, what do you call those, mental hospitals? I'd be checking myself into one of them.
Would watch this movie. Like, he was completely oblivious that The Mask was also enjoyed by a bunch of adults. But okay. So remember the plan that the dog was setting up to murder the baby? Well, it backfires, and the dog is put through his own torture chamber by the baby. And during this ridiculous charade, the dog gets tangled up with a ceiling fan that flies out the window. A ceiling fan that the baby is controlling with a remote. What the hell is happening? What?
What? Remote control ceiling fan?
There's a shot where the baby bends over to pick up the deflated dog, and they didn't get a shot of the baby standing back up again. So they just put the shot in reverse in order to make it look like the baby picked up the dog. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Then there's the baby pissing scene. Oh my god. When I was watching it, I was like, oh, so the baby has what, like 5 dicks? What? He's got 2 dicks? He's got 3 dicks. 5 dicks. Because there's like 5 different streams. Or maybe that's just something that his weird mask dick can do. Like, it just can shoot a bunch of different streams out of the same hole. That's a cool ability. But then after that happens, he obliterates Tim with this massive stream of piss. All done? So what, his dick hole just like stretched open, or did his entire dick like grow into like a fire hose? I can't believe I'm talking about a baby's dick. These are the kind of questions that Lawrence Guterman wants you to ask. Thanks, dude. I'm gonna go douse myself in gasoline and then light myself on fire. Loki finally makes his way to the Avery place. He's disguised as the delivery guy, and he brought a package with him. Tim opens the package and he gets obliterated by a huge spring-loaded boxing glove. But he immediately forgets about it and concerns himself with the baby again. What the hell? If that happened to anyone, I'd be like, what the fuck just happened? I'm calling the police. Get this guy out of my house. What's going on? But instead, Tim's like, all right, got to put the baby in the car and drive him to like the hospital or something. Maybe reenacts the Exorcist scene and vomits green shit all over the place. But somehow none of it gets on Tim. So Loki follows Tim down a busy sidewalk in the city. A policeman tries to stop Loki for parking in a handicap spot. So Loki takes the policeman and buries his face in the sidewalk, quite literally. Like, he turns this dude into an ostrich. And the onlookers' reactions are so nonchalant. Like, did you not just see this guy get pretty much killed right in front of you? He takes out a cartoon axe that grows arms, one of which is holding a gun. It's so dumb and not clever at all. Like, at least in the original Mask movie, when he created shit with his powers, it was at least a little bit clever. Like when he was being chased by the gang and he was making them balloon animals and stuff. Not only was that scene immensely improved by Jim Carrey's performance, but the writing of the scene was actually fun. He's making all these balloon animals and shit, and then his final balloon creation is a Tommy gun, and he shoots it at these guys and they all run away. The Tommy gun was unexpected and was funny, and it came out of nowhere. There was at least like a little bit of wit when it came to the original Mask movie. In this movie, it's just so stupid. It's like, oh, he could have used the axe because he was literally right in front of him, but instead he had the axe grow arms with a gun. Oh my god. This movie is honestly just pain. Watching this hurt. So Odin takes over a random security guard and stops Loki. So thanks, Odin, for helping the plot move forward, even though you could just find the mask immediately yourself. Why? What? If Odin is already focusing on Loki and what he's doing, why wouldn't he just stop all this nonsense and find the mask immediately? He could at least tell Loki where the mask is, instead of stopping Loki from trying to get the mask through other methods. So Loki is chasing the baby and Tim, and he stops their escape by dropping a huge wall in front of them that says, Loki is a god in the sack. And this movie is intended for kids. And you know that there has had to have been at least one child who watched this movie with their parents and asked their parents what this meant. So Loki and the baby have this ridiculous fight scene. Oh god, he's back. Loki throws a massive grenade at them. Odin takes over Tim and then stops Loki. Then the baby uses his googly arms to pick up 2 garbage containers and uses them to bash Loki. Okay. Odin doesn't like...
Seeing your pet live 100%, there's nothing better. The right food unlocks that life for your pet. Try our Right Food Finder today at Petco.com. Be confident you're helping your pet live 100%.
How Loki is trying to find the mask. So he takes Loki's powers away because that will help, right, Odin? That will help you get the mask.
Dad, please listen to me. You're holding the baby. Silence!
Oh my god. Odin might be the dumbest character in this entire movie. Especially since he ends up giving Loki's powers back in like the next scene. So Loki infiltrates the Avery house. The neighbor sees him, so Loki turns the neighbor's head into a big nose. Okay, that's kind of funny. I'm sorry. This movie's so good. Oh my god. That's nasty. So Tim turns over the baby. And oh god, it's Loki. Then Tim's wife comes home. And oh my god, it's Loki again. How many different costumes did Loki have in this movie? Alan Cumming must have dressed up like 10,000 times for this movie. I can't think of a single other role in history where someone had more costumes than this guy had in this movie. It must have been such a pain in the ass. And then to have the movie come out and it's a pile of garbage. Can you imagine? So Loki has a stick of TNT up his ass. And it's lit, and he tells Tim to meet him in an alley within the hour with the mask. Loki takes the baby and blasts off through the roof with the TNT that was in his ass. I don't know what to say anymore. What the fuck? Tim knows the dog has the mask, so he finds the dog on a date with the mask on, and he convinces the dog to give the mask back. So the dog makes out with his doggy girlfriend, and then he gives Tim the mask. Oh, fuck. How come this mask makes people so horny? So I guess if you ever want to see dogs make out, you're welcome, furries. In the next scene, Loki and the baby have a Western standoff, and then they play Twister. So what you got is this middle-aged man all tangled up with a toddler. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So Tim shows up in his car. Loki tries to swindle Tim by taking the mask and the baby because he likes the baby now. The dog bites Loki's balls, so he throws the mask in the air and he gets a glimpse of Mars. The mask lands on Tim's face, and we are blessed with another scene of green-faced Ginger Tim. Oh, good. Loki runs away, so Tim turns his car into a mask-mobile.
Buckle up, baby.
It comes equipped with 1,000,000 exhaust ports and teeth. 2 sets of teeth. I wouldn't expect anything less. The wife is with Tim during all this, and she kind of just goes along with all this as if it's normal. It's very strange. Like, Loki's in his car, and he turns the roads into a bunch of huge hills, and Tim and his wife drive up and down these massive hills, and then afterwards, her demeanor is completely the same. Like, she's just sitting there calm. Whatever. I like he totally accepts that this is happening. Tim finds Loki and they start fighting. Tim farts in Loki's face because farts are funny. You know that one scene in The Mask when Jim Carrey takes out these two gigantic guns? Well, Tim does the same thing here, but like they turn into a bunch of missiles and shit because, oh, they gotta one-up The Mask, I guess, even though it comes across really forced and stupid. And Loki turns into a pencil and he just erases the guns and draws in flowers. This scene is giving me flashbacks to when I tortured myself with the Green Lantern featuring Ryan Reynolds. So Tim makes himself into a big pencil sharpener, and he sharpens the Loki pencil into a bunch of little bits. Oh my god, this movie's killing me. Please make it stop. This scene, no, this entire movie is what it must be like to snort coke immediately after smoking meth, and then taking a hammer to your face like 400 times. So Loki and Tim are evenly matched, so they let the baby decide who he wants to stay with. Tim takes off the mask and the baby chooses Tim. The mask just kind of disappears in this scene. If you watch Tim, he takes it off, but then it's just gone. It's poof. Where did he put it? Is it guarding his dick? Did he shove it in his pants? He must have done that because later on, he randomly pulls it out of thin air again when he gives it to Odin and Loki. So Loki cries and morphs into green Darth Maul, and he pulls a building-sized hammer out of the ground and starts attacking them. Instead of putting the mask on, Tim decides to defend the family, just as his normal self. So Loki swings the hammer down at them multiple times, missing basically on purpose. And then he's about to hit them, but Tim just puts his arms up and catches it. What? Oh, he just caught the hammer mid-swing. This building-sized hammer. He just caught it. Wow. Okay. Momentum and physics aren't a thing in this movie, I guess. So he's holding the hammer up, but his family decides to just chill underneath the hammer. And instead of moving out of the way.
They can move out from underneath him.
I know, what? Loki makes drills come out of the hammer to kill Tim, and they move super slow towards Tim. And why do they move super slow, you ask? Oh yeah, they have to move slow, because earlier in the movie, Odin gave Loki a time limit to get the mask. And oh my god, it just ran out right now. Convenience. So Odin decides to finally make an appearance, the worst god on earth.
Big Daddy.
I guess he just really likes wasting time. Odin and Loki have this really dumb father and son fight, and then Tim walks over and gives them very surface level advice that anybody would know.
Even if you banish him, he's still going to be your son. There is nothing more important in this entire universe than your relationship.
Thanks, Tim. These gods don't know this information for some reason, but you do. So Tim gives Loki and Odin the mask and they disappear. The wife shrugs off all this crazy shit that just happened. Like, she should be questioning her own sanity. She should be in a mental hospital right now. She's like, yep, normal.
Hello, what is that?
At the very end of the movie, we get a nice shot of Tim and his wife's feet. So, for all you people that like feet out there, here's some feet. Very beautiful cinematography. So the family's all sitting there, and they're like, oh, yay, Tim got to create his cartoon finally. And apparently the wife is pregnant again, and the baby winks like, oh, you're probably going to see a sequel to this. And it never happened, because this movie made no money. This movie was batshit insane. A lot of the action scenes were outlandish in a similar way to the original movie, but they tried way too hard to one-up The Mask. And in doing so, they made the movie so much worse. Like, oh, we gotta make it crazier. Lawrence Guterman was like, all right, the one thing we have to focus on is making the movie as crazy as possible. I don't care what we do, as long as it makes zero sense and it's insanity the entire time. I want to give the viewers a headache. I feel like that was his mission. And they were given $80 million to make this. It's unreal. It's unreal. The original movie would have been a complete failure if it didn't star Jim Carrey. And trying to find another actor that captures the same energy and comical spark as Jim Carrey is near impossible. And not
Sal's lunch menu today. You ordered a chicken Caesar salad. You got a regular Caesar salad. I'm just going to add the chicken because we're at a pet store today. So we're just going to add the chicken. There's two guys hanging out having lunch. One guy's hanging out. I should get a drink or something. I gotta grab a water.
You like watching me eat lunch, huh?
You know, it's getting weird how much I watch you eat lunch.
Yeah. I want healthy.
I'm proud of you. You want healthy. What is that, chicken? Yeah, it's delicious, right? Is that chicken not dry? It looks dry.
It's a little bit dry, but it's comestible.
It says it's moist.
No,
It says it's moist.
it's a big deal now. We're on during
Yeah.
NCAA tournament.
Yeah, this chicken's supposed to be moist, so that's good.
What are you doing?
April Fool.
Am I eating dog food? Is it Joe? What am I eating right now? You want me to eat dog food? That's not funny. It's like regular food. What? You look like a chicken or a pig.
He's got him. You can't mess around with practical jokers. Happy April Fools, everybody.
This is not funny. Oh, can this be eaten by them? Oh, you didn't do this to me, did you really? Is that why wouldn't you tell me not to eat it?
It's April Fools. You can't trust anybody. No, they're going to add this.
What? You can't April Fool me on March 15th and just say it's what? Do that to me.
She didn't.
She ordered my lunch.
Yeah, I took it when it came. She didn't order the food with dog food. I did.
Wait, God damn! You can't April Fool me on March.
After the last 2 weeks of Dino Sump, I'm pretty sure everyone saw this coming. And I'm not really wishing I actually had the Carnosaur movies on hand, but I'm getting off track. Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Mecha Shadow, the internet personality of the best hair. And this is Jurassic Park 3. Obviously, as the first film was a record-setting smash hit, and the second, while its overall quality can be argued for or against, some loathing it, yet some really enjoying it, still the important thing in Universal's eyes is that it also made them a ton of money. Therefore, it should come as no surprise that Jurassic Park 3 got the green light. It got approved and a release date set long before they even started writing a script. Also had a completely different director and writer, and they started filming before the script was even finished. Why is this sounding awfully familiar? Furthermore, while they tried to get Michael Crichton to come up with a story for this film, as this is the first Jurassic Park movie not based on a novel, he brainstormed with them for several weeks and then left in frustration as the studio didn't like any of his ideas. But hey, maybe they were really bad ideas. I mean, the studio just came up with their own plots after he left and their first new traits. Anyway, enough poisoning the well. Let's take a look at Jurassic Park 3, The Cash Grab, and see if you really can just slap one of these movies together. Find out how the world is dealing with an island full of gigantic, deadly creatures.
Make sure you get it as close as you can!
See how many times you can poke at it before it lashes out. Then you can sue. Introducing us to horrible quasi-parental figure Ben Hildebrand, played by Mark Haralick, and this movie's kid, Trevor Morgan, who plays the role of Eric. Ben has paid the local illegal tour guide to bring him and his girlfriend's son over to this restricted area on the off chance they might see a dinosaur. Interesting, the black market of this movie actually goes ahead with branding and logos. Makes me wonder if the local drug dealers have savings club cards. However, before long, there is a pretty major problem.
What was that? I don't know.
This scene is fucking horrible if you don't have the visuals going along with it.
Hold on, what's happening? Hold on.
Yeah. Let's never do that again. Obviously, what they meant was that the boat got attacked by ninja dinosaurs. No time to mourn the dead within the first 5 minutes, though. There's another problem.
All right, no, we're not. I'm gonna crash.
You're not going to crash. The boat is going to crash. You are not in the boat. You realize this?
Decker, they are attached to the boat. Their cord thingamajig is attached to the boat. If they didn't release, they would have got yanked towards those rocks.
Fearing that they might drift forward for a bit and get a little wet, Ben saves the day and his dry clean only Hawaiian shirt by heading to the island. The island that they already know is crawling with giant murderous creatures, but hey, what other choice did he have? Those rocks clearly slightly scratched the bottom of that boat, and they just don't have the equipment on them to buff that out. Now that this movie's not establishing a hook, it feels like it doesn't have to try to make us care for the next 15 minutes or so.
Now, if the rocks were a lot bigger and unable for them to, hold out on, yeah, I could probably see why they drift towards the island.
Therefore, we switch over to Alan Grant, whom is at the home of Ellie, again played by Laura Dern. Turns out that despite the first movie going against the book and making Grant and Sattler a couple, now the woman is married to another man, whom doesn't seem to mind at all as she's hanging out with her old boyfriend. And he even goes so far as to leave the two of them alone together.
Okay. It has
Okay, but when you come back and you find Grant with his hand on her ass, don't tell me I didn't warn you. Lucky for him, instead of a game of horny humans, Dr. Grant exposits information about some of the
Horny
issues the Doctor will have in this movie. Turns out they were capable of sophisticated vocalization, and in theory, could communicate with each other if they were smart enough.
They were smarter than dolphins or whales.
Yeah, but not nearly as cute.
They were smarter than primates.
Hold on. The brain-to-body ratio is nice and all, but if you're going to start claiming that raptors were smarter than primates and being able to use stone tools themselves make, I really think that you should probably give a few examples of raptor ingenuity. And no, creating the dinosaur craze of the 90s doesn't count. But who needs proof when you just pull declarations out of your ass and wait for the events of the movie to confirm your suspicions? Much like the film's audience, the university he's speaking to seems much less interested in all this bullshit and want to know when the hell we're going to see some dinosaurs running around.
No force on earth or heaven could get me on that island.
Thus, the protagonist never finds himself in a crisis situation. The end. Fine, we'll continue. Moving on to Grant's big site, we are introduced to generic late 20s, early 30s actor Alessandro Nivola, playing the young, hip paleontology major Billy Brennan. He shows off his knowledge to the audience by getting up close and personal with a female paleontologist. More importantly, Billy's got a new toy.
It's a rapid prototyper.
3D printer. It does allow them to make the world's most expensive kazoo out of scans of the raptor's resonating chamber. Sounds, nothing at fucking all like a raptor does. Way to spend the dig's already limited funds in the most useless way possible, Billy. Still wondering how the hell he ends up on the island, though? Not to worry. William H. Macy shows up, playing the role of Paul Kirby, and takes Grant to a random bar to let the film crew in to meet his wife Amanda, played by Tia Leone. They say that they want to take a flying tour over the island and want Grant as their guide. As no force on heaven or earth can get him on the island, he refuses.
I could write all kinds of numbers on this check, Dr. Grant. What's it going to take?
Bacon. Lots of bacon. And they're off. Plus, it looks like Grant took Billy along. Supposedly it's for helping him to get into this situation, but I'm pretty sure it's just that Grant knows in these movies, the one thing that's going to stop a dinosaur from chasing you is when he's ripping apart one of your friends. So they fly, and there's clouds, and when the hell are we going to get to the dinosaurs?
Alan,
Wake up. I'm almost there.
Wait, go back. I don't care that it was a dream. I want to see what happens in that movie.
I'm surprised somebody didn't come up with a stupid idea like dinosaurs on a plane. I mean, having a velociraptor on a plane in a dream, I mean, sure, it's supposed to be a jump scare or a dream, but I'm surprised someone out there didn't come up with an idea of a movie called Dinosaurs on a Plane. I mean, they already got snakes on a plane. I mean, that was somewhat an okay movie, but dinosaurs on a plane, that would be pretty fucking stupid. Oh god, now that I mention it, there's probably somebody out there thinking of it.
Well, at least they finally got to the island, and I got my dinosaurs. Fucking ass ton of them, which Grant handily points out, but strangely the Kirby's don't seem to care all that much.
We have a landing strip up ahead. You want me to put it down?
You mean set it down? You can't land here. What are you talking about?
Hold on. I can explain it.
Surprise, the filthy rich adventure seekers have ulterior motives. And other problems that we'll get into later. They're big, muscular...
You know, circling the island is going to waste fuel, and a plane moving around that island for so long, you're going to run out of fuel. So, unless they have like a spare fuel silage or storage can or something on that plane that will keep the plane going for a while, I wouldn't spend too long up in the air.
The flight attendant knocks the out-of-control passenger out, and by the time Grant comes to, it turns out the plane has already landed. Now we get to establish some real character traits between the Kirbys. They're idiots, which we see as Paul and Amanda bicker about Grant's advice to not make too much noise.
He says it's a bad idea.
What's a bad idea?
That's the same sound that I make when a strange woman barges into my room and starts screaming into a megaphone. What the hell does that keep happening? Thus, these tough, no-nonsense mercs say, fuck this shit and run like hell. Problem is, Cooper, played by John Deal, doesn't make it to the plane, so instead, this happens. And so our group of explorers splattered all over the inside of the airplane. The end.
You know, my theory for Jurassic Park 3 is when they first land on the island and they all send those 3 little mercenaries into the jungle with their guns and whatnot, Cooper's left behind, right, firing gunshots, and he is somewhat injured. My theory on why the Spinosaurus kept chasing these people all over the island is that Cooper may have killed a baby Spinosaurus off screen. Because one, how the hell could he get injured by the adult Spinosaurus? I mean, the thing is ginormous. It could have killed him in the first bite like it showed on the runway. That thing could have killed him easily. So my theory is when Cooper's out in the jungle and Amanda is screaming into the megaphone, Cooper stumbles upon a baby Spinosaurus. It attacks him, injuring him, and he kills it off screen, which alerts the adult Spinosaurus, and it causes it to chase him down after he's gotten away from whatever happened and onto the runway, which it chases after him and kills him. I mean, it would be a perfectly good, plausible theory. I mean, why else would the Spinosaurus be running after these people? I mean, sure, the plane hits the Spinosaurus and injures it, but I don't think that would have been an implausible cause for the Spinosaurus to keep chasing them all over the island. Take these examples I'm about to tell you. In the Lost World Jurassic Park, after the baby T-Rex is kidnapped and brought to the trailer, the parents followed, right? And continued to follow. Well, being that Cooper possibly killed the baby Spinosaurus off screen, Cooper had his human scent on on that plane, in it, people smelt his scent on them and kept chasing them, thinking that they were with him when he killed that possible baby Spinosaurus. That, and another theory or example. When Billy steals those raptor eggs, they kept following them all over the island, just like the Spinosaurus was following them all over the island. So my theory is possibly Cooper killed the baby Spinosaurus off screen, and adult Spino wanted revenge. I mean, it seems like a good probable cause.
Or none of them even suffered a bruise, all thanks to the magic of seatbelts. We also learn that we're back to the original movie's logic, where dinosaurs teleport to wherever they are needed and eat even when they've already fed, because fuck it. Oh yeah, that was Nash, played by Bruce Young. And I also assume that the Spinosaurus growing in size 2 or 3 times over when turning into CGI is just another dinosaur ability that this movie introduces. On the bright side, I can finally comment on the special effects. They're not so special. The CGI seems to have taken a step down from where it was in The Lost World, and the animatronics, while very impressive for their size, don't look natural at all. And the way it moves feels a lot less like an animal and more like something you'd find at a monster truck rally. When they try to escape, the group winds up running into an old friend, which means before 30 minutes are up, we already wind up with what you'd think would be the climactic battle. Spinosaurus versus Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Goddamn sexual
Guess that's the end of that joke. Now that the group is safe and Grant is plenty pissed off, they reveal to the audience that the Kirbys are actually Eric's parents, and even though they knew he was lost somewhere on this island, the authorities weren't willing to help. Thus, they hired some mercenaries and kidnapped the paleontologist instead.
But why me? He said we needed someone who'd been on the island before.
I have never been on this island.
That was Isla Nublar. This is Isla Sorna.
Interestingly enough, while it would have made sense for the Kirbys to have called Ian instead, despite this movie's really jumbled production, it turns out that Jeff Goldblum fucked this and starts heading for the coast. The remaining cast member I failed to rattle off, Mr. Udesky, played by Michael Jeter, opts to stick close to them for safety. This extended character interaction brings up another revelation. Turns out the Kirbys are not super filthy rich adventurers.
There's no such thing as Kirby Enterprises, is there?
It's Kirby Paint and Tile Plus.
So they are merely middle-class business owners. Means they still have quite a fuck ton of money. And they're not billions, mind you, but if this is your concept of broke, I don't even know what to fucking say. Out of sheer dumb luck, they happen to find the parachute that the guys came down in. Even better, well, every time a guy tries to be legitimately spontaneous, possibly due to being traumatized as a child from watching Jason and the Argonauts, Amanda can't stand the sight of skeletons, and they wind up finding something else. One of the discoveries about raptors is they had larger feathers on their arms, anchors in the bones, much like vultures had. And as they didn't fly, it is most likely so that they could cup it around the nest and keep it warm. And although never mind that. They discover a set left over from the last movie.
Good point.
And retcon in some alien resurrection-style dinosaur cloning alongside the manufactured eggs. They also introduce the feathered raptor.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that tank would be 8 times huge if the raptor was inside the tank. Alright, Amanda, how did you not notice that? I mean, the raptor in a tank that's about the size that could fit a human in it, and it's not that big. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I would have seen that a mile away. And how did you not see the other part of the raptor on the other side of the tank? I mean, I clearly would have seen like a tail or part of the raptor's back than I would have. Because seeing a raptor's head and neck in that tank, I would have like, okay. I'm gonna keep my eye and distance away from that because I would have known possibly that was either a dead raptor, and if it was dead, don't you think it would have been more skeletalized or eyes popping out or something?
Yeah, they did bother to add minimal feathers and try to explain the reason why only some raptors were feathered is because the males have feathers. And guess that might make sense in some level for this movie's logic, but the way they added those feathers really weren't even the right kind. It just ends up looking like a mohawk, like an 80s style raptor here. Which is still pretty awesome in its own right, I'll give them that. They also established some of the raptors' language. Oh my god. Or that dream sequence earlier really was establishing that Grant has gone batshit crazy after all of this. The end result is more running, of course, and another run through a herd of dinosaurs because we haven't seen that enough times in these movies. Keeping track of the body count, Mr. Udesky is taken by the raptors, and soon Grant finds some as well.
What do you say?
How did none of those raptors that Dr. Grant was looking at smell him? I'm pretty sure from a pretty good long distance, those raptors were at least 30, maybe 50 feet from him. I'm pretty sure they would have smelled him.
Thus, our beloved hero, Dr. Grant, dies a horrible, painful death. The end. Hold up, as this fake out of mine clearly isn't convincing anyone. A few gas grenades fly in, as well as Eric, decked out like Robin Williams in Jumanji. I just know if Creepy was here, he'd insist on playing Tarzan Boy right about now. Point is, this introduces us to the character of Eric Kirby. He is quite possibly the best character in the movie, believe it or not. He exhibits the most determination of anyone on set. The actor does a decent job with the role, and very weirdly means that the child character is somehow the most likable one in the whole movie. My entire worldview has been turned on its head. The next day, the characters head out, but Eric hears the familiar ringtone of his father's satellite phone. Thus, they scream and run through the woods until they finally meet back up with each other, separated by a fence.
Without fences, without boundaries, without constraining technology.
Okay, so there's another island of dinosaurs, no fence.
That is a good one. Saying that there is no fences or boundaries in the third movie, there's a giant metal barrier. Unless there's a fucking third island with dinosaurs on it, they fucked that part up right there.
Fences this time.
So the island has no fences, just giant metal barriers topped with spikes. Gotcha. Problem was he didn't have the phone. Nash did. And Nash got eaten. Okay, I'm gonna swallow you all one by one until someone answers this damn phone. Still, they're safe.
Okay. My question is, how the hell did they get past that damn dinosaur without it even drawing such a noise? I'm pretty sure a dinosaur that damn big, you would have heard gigantic footsteps. And how they even get past that dinosaur, like run right past it, is an even better question. And yeah, here's the dinosaur following them, like I mentioned before. So my question is, where did the dinosaur come from? Was it hid just a few feet out of frame? Explain to us that movie. How did the dinosaur emerge from the jungle without making the slightest peep? I mean, is it a ninja dinosaur?
If there's a fence, and never mind. Oh, sure, he can destroy the gates of hell, but a little wooden door will stop him. Still,
Hold
we're
on.
safe. There's a fence. sense, and... Never mind.
Decker, you made a little mistake. That door is not wooden. That is a metal door. I mean, still, it should have left one hell of a gigantic dent in the door or something instead of no damage to the whatsoever. It being a humongous dinosaur, I'm pretty sure it would have left a huge dent in it.
Oh, sure, he can destroy the gates of hell, but a little wooden door will stop him. That little wooden door can stop him. What? Shit! Fucking control? What the fuck movie? Victor?
You know, my question is, when Udesky died, he was supposed to be a mercenary type character, right? And he had some useful stuff on him. A flashlight, a survival knife, few other things on him. And yet, not a single person thought to climb out of that tree after he was dead and the raptors were gone to loot his body. I mean, surely to God he had some useful items on him to which those people could have used that may have been crucial for their survival. Flashlight could have been handy in case of it getting dark. Maybe his backpack that he dropped, they probably could have searched that. Maybe there was something in it that could have helped him. His survival knife, they could have probably made spears. I mean, sure, spears won't do jack shit to a damn Spinosaurus or T-Rex or something, but I mean, maybe the pterodactyls, they could have probably used the spears on the pterodactyls, if you think about it. That probably would have been a smart move, using spears to try and fend off any pterodactyls. Now that would have been... I recommend a remake of that movie, because, one, a remake of Jurassic Park 3 would have probably been much better if they had added a few more combat-like scenes and smarter things to do. Sure, it probably would have made the movie a little bit longer, but hey, it probably would have gotten a lot more better views than what it already got.
He cannot be enjoyed without more shit coming up, though. So we learned that when they found the random raptor nest, Billy stole 2 raptor eggs, believing that they would be worth more than enough to keep Grant's dig site funded for years to come.
You're no better than the people that built this place.
Because if there's one thing that paleontologists would be vehemently against, it's the scientific pursuit of new knowledge pertaining to prehistoric life. What? Grant decides to keep a hold of the eggs anyway, just to...
Yeah, if you drop those eggs, those raptors would have torn you limb from limb.
Case, and they head down the path the building leads to. The overabundance of rusty metal walkways and fog convinces me they've ended up in Silent Hill. As such, the place is crawling with monsters. Setting into motion the aviary scene, which is actually probably my favorite part of the movie. It's one of those bits that was actually cut out from the original film for one reason or another, but the reasons I like it are because, 1, we finally get pterosaurs prominently featured in a plot-relevant way in a Jurassic Park movie, 2, the limited movement and vision of the people lends this point to have a very horror-esque vibe to it, and 3, the creatures themselves look pretty damn good. I mean, not as good as the creatures from the other 2 movies, but it still looks a hell of a lot better than Truckosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
In the end, Billy redeems himself by saving the day. For his trouble, several pterosaurs trap him in the river and kill the ever-loving fuck out of him, while the rest of the cast escapes and gets a free boat with a full tank of gas. I know it doesn't mean they won, they just found a boat. You think you can escape an island with a boat? Oh, no. You have to contact the outside world or some shit.
Hello?
You'd think that phone would work. You honestly think that phone would work after being stuck in dinosaur crap for as long as it was? And furthermore, when the mercenaries were eaten, don't you think their weapons probably would have survived? I mean, Nash and Cooper both had holstered weapons. Nash had a holstered Mervik 88 pump-action shotgun, and Cooper had a holstered machete and a holstered pistol. And being that the Spinosaurus swallowed them both, maybe one or two of those weapons were salvageable? I mean, if the phones fucking survived, maybe a pistol or a shotgun one would have survived, probably. I mean, at least try and see if anything's were salvageable. I honestly don't see a cell phone being salvageable because it's electronic, and being inside the contents of a dinosaur's stomach, I wouldn't see that phone working for a bit. But a shotgun or a pistol being in its holster, maybe it's salvageable. If the Spinosaurus didn't... I probably would have seen that being salvageable.
Grant calls the person, or both. They only have enough battery life left for it and gets a free boat with a full tank of gas. I know it doesn't mean they won. They just found a boat. Do you think you can escape an island with a boat? Oh, no, no, no. You have to contact the outside world or some shit.
Hello?
And why hold the phone up right to your face and start speaking into it when you pull it out of the Spinosaurus shit? Frankly, I would have cleaned that shit up before I started using it.
Or both. They only have enough battery life left for one more call. As a friendly reminder, before iPhones and the like rose in popularity, it was actually pretty common for cell phone batteries to last weeks at a time on a single charge. So I know this is a satellite phone, but still, it's not too outlandish. So Grant calls the person most capable of solving this crisis.
Charlie!
Hello?
Charlie!
Charlie, played by Blake Bryan. To be fair, Grant is probably going to get a lot more help from this kid than he would have if he called 911. Of course, this is too easy, so Jason Voorheesaurus shows up. And honestly, I think I understand why every movie in this series has all their dinosaurs running around at night. We've got the same CGI model and same hydraulic Spinosaurus for this scene, but thanks to the rain and darkness, it looks a lot more convincing. I mean, it's got the same problems with jerky motion, but since it's darker and there's a lot more shit going on, it's not as easily noticeable, so you're not really taken out of it as often. Good news, though. Grant got through. Truly, all the information she could possibly need. Don't worry too much, though. Everyone is fine, partly due to the Spinosaurus having butterfingers, partly due to the fact that nobody needs to breathe, and that if there's one thing dinosaurs don't like, it's when water catches fire. Yes, I know the gas tank ruptured and spilled out, and yes, I know that would burn on top of water, but you try explaining that to a dinosaur. Point is, they get out of there, and we never see this creature again. After all, they're right next to the shoreline. Oh, wait, that's right. There was this little plot point involving raptors that needs to be taken care of. Lucky for them, they still have the eggs on hand, which have been outside incubating temperatures for at least 2 days. But let's hope these creatures are only about as intelligent as your average Hollywood screenwriter. They present the eggs, and Grant remembers the other odd plot device in his pack. Just a quick note to the writer. There is another creature in this movie, that has a very impressive wide range of vocal capabilities. They're called humans. So why, pray tell, can Grant not mimic raptor language without that hoity-toity duck call? Nevertheless, calling for help not only calls the raptors off, it actually manages to get help to arrive in the form of fucking armed forces.
You have to thank her now. She said the Navy and Marines.
Okay. While husband who had 2 lines in the whole fucking movie did use those to mention that he was working in foreign affairs, there's already one hell of a stretch to explain how Ellie can have this kind of pull. The fuck? From that little garbled call, did she figure out not only that he was on one of these islands, but which one he was on, and where to send the help? I mean, they didn't have enough of them to cover the whole perimeter. Where's it be? So, happy ending. They live. And so did Billy. Because we all know a great story requires a great tragedy. And this is not a great story. Plus, the pterosaurs are now free from their cage and flying out to kill people in other parts of the world.
What about this scene right here don't make much sense. You'd think those pterodactyls or pterosaurs or whatever you want to call them would attack those helicopters. And furthermore, if they left their nests, what about the baby pterodactyls? Honestly. I mean, sure, those are pterodactyls, probably males, but what if they're females? Who's taking care of the baby pterodactyls? Gotta have explanations for that.
I don't know, maybe just looking for new nesting grounds. It's a whole new world for them.
Well, isn't that great?
So that's what caused Jurassic World.
Except, of course, for this. So, the pterosaurs from the Lost World never left the island, and in fact, locked themselves in a giant bird cage to be set free in this movie, and then leave the island. Makes perfect sense. Anyway, that was Jurassic Park 3. I thought, no, it wasn't. Yes, this is the third movie in the Jurassic Park franchise, but hell, if people can dance around Prometheus being a prequel to Alien for whatever reason they like, can I say Jurassic Park 3 feels more like a spin-off and not a numbered entry in the Jurassic Park saga? The first movie was this big, pretentious orgy of paleontological nerdgasms and warnings about the folly of man. The second, while it did piss me off, I will fully admit was a big story full of paleontological nerdgasms and warnings about the folly of man. This movie, though, is a much smaller tale about a family trying to find their child with undertones about deception, and well, that's pretty much it. While Jurassic Park 3 didn't piss me off, it did disappoint simply from the fact that they really didn't try anything. The big new aspect was the Spinosaurus, but the way it worked in the movie was no different than a giant scaly slasher villain. That's the biggest problem I have with this movie. It's just so damn generic. There are things to...
Yeah, I mean, with Cooper and Nash getting swallowed whole in almost one whole bite, their weapons being holstered, would they be salvageable? That is a very, very good question. I mean, you'd think maybe maybe a weapon was salvageable. I mean, if the phone survived, possibly a pistol or a shotgun would have come in handy.
Alike, though, having Alan Grant as our lead protagonist was a nice throwback, and Eric was a surprisingly well-done child role. The Kirbys are juxtaposed in demeanor against everything we've seen in Jurassic Park before this, but they're supposed to be. I know it's a common joke that the Kirbys suck really hard, but I've seen far worse character archetypes. Overall, Jurassic Park 3 is clearly the weakest entry in the series, and feels very low budget compared to the last two films. Some parts even come off like you'd expect in an Asylum ripoff of Jurassic Park. But if you can look past what the film hasn't done, you might find what it has done is at least decent. Decent's not exactly good enough when it comes to Jurassic Park, but still, the film nets 2 pterodactyl death stares out of 5. Personally, I prefer watching this over The Lost World, though I will fully admit that The Lost World is a better Jurassic Park movie, but in my opinion, when it comes to the thing, out of hell with it. Thank you all for watching. I'm the Decker Shadow, and remember, make sure the check clears before going off to the island of giant killer monsters. Or just take the money and run. Fuck it.
So, just had to save my dog's life. There's an alligator. I don't know if you can see him. I'm kind of zooming in. He's right over there. You see him? See his face? Anyway, he was chasing after this, it was like a stork or some sort of crane right over there. He chased him from over here, and then he flew across the water. He jumped in the water. He was swimming this way. The alligator was closing in on him. I kept calling. I was like, Titus, Titus, get out of here. And dude, no, there he is. He just went underwater. This way. I literally had to jump in with that crane. I was
Yeah, I believe if my dog jumped in the water and was nearly getting eaten by an alligator, I probably would have been shooting at that. Was even getting remotely close to my dog, I probably would have pulled out my pistol and shot at the gator. Or at least a few warning shots, see if I could scare it off first, and then if that didn't do shit to the alligator, then shoot at it. Okay. It's 11:31. I'm getting tired. The battery is 52%. I'm gonna turn the camera off, or end the stream here, and go to sleep here in my tent. I will hopefully see you all in the morning when I do my next stream. This is Dallas May, going to sleep.